fiery horse with the speed of light, a cloud of dust, and a hearty hi-yo silver, the Lone Ranger. With his faithful Indian companion Tonto, the daring and resourceful masked rider of the plains led the fight for law and order in the early western United States. Nowhere in the pages of history can one find a greater champion of justice. Return with us now to those thrilling days of yesteryear. From out of the past come the thundering hoofbeats of the great horse Silver. The Lone Ranger rides again.
One Silver! Let's go, big fella! Hail, Silver! Hi!
The Lone Ranger and his Indian companion Tonto were traveling southward on the trail toward Rock City when the Indian pointed ahead and spoke.
Look, Kemosabe. Horse without rider grazing along trailhead.
His rider may have had an accident. Come on, Silver.
Come up, Scout.
Oh,
Scout. Now.
Steady.
Me grab bridle. Oh, there. Oh, fella. Oh, there.
Tonto, I don't see anyone. The hoof marks show that horse came from town. We'll take him with us. I'll wait at the edge of Rock City while you go into town and hunt for the owner. Come on, Silver.
Get him up, Scout. Come, fella. Come on.
With the stray horse in tow, the Lone Ranger and Tonto soon topped a rise and saw a bedraggled figure walking slowly toward them along the trail.
A fella walking this way. Maybe him look for horse.
Well, he seems tired.
Look, him stop. Put up hands.
You must think we're outlaws. Oh, Silver.
Easy, fella. Easy.
I haven't anything of value. I don't even carry a gun. I'm worn out from walking, and say, that's my horse.
We found him grazing alongside the trail. Oh, we're not outlaws. No need to raise your hands.
Thanks. But that mask.
Forget it. Oh, what happened? Did your horse throw you?
No, I was run out of town by a big, tough fella named Slugger something or other. He and his friends threw me out of the cafe, chased my horse down the trail, and forced me to follow on foot.
Him maybe mean Slugger Hawkins. Fella we hear about, Kemosabe.
Yes, Tonto. You're new to the West, aren't you?
Yes, I am. I'm Drew Westcott from St. Louis.
Glad to meet you, Drew. Why did Slugger Hawkins mistreat you?
Well, earlier today, I was sitting in the Rock City Cafe. A fella Slugger and his two friends entered.
Hey, we want some quick service, mister.
Now, hold on, Slugger. Last time you hombres came in here, you were served plenty, but you refused to pay.
So you want to argue about it, huh? What about that, men? Shall we convince him we ought to get service?
Yeah, I agree with Chunky. He ought to be convinced.
And draw your guns and let's go. Come on.
Wait! I'll give you whatever you want, Slugger. Now wait.
Now you're talking sense. Put up your guns, men.
Right. Just as you say, Slugger.
And as long as we're getting service, we might as well treat everybody in the place. Step up, everybody. Treat you around the house.
All right, Slugger. Hey, Slugger. There's one hombre over yonder who doesn't seem to want to join us.
Maybe you didn't hear me say the treats around the house, Trigger. Come on.
Yeah.
Stranger, I reckon you didn't hear me say the treats around the house, did you?
Yes, I heard you, but I don't care for anything.
You don't, eh? Well, why don't you?
Because you have no right to come in here and force the cafe to treat everybody, including you and your friends.
Oh, you object to that, huh?
Yes, I do.
Chunky, Trigger, don't you think we ought to sit at this table?
Yeah, that's right.
Get up and beat it, stranger.
What right have you to tell
This
me to...
right?
Let go, you!
All right, out of the way, everybody. I'm throwing out an undesirable stranger. Open the door, Chunky.
Right.
Out you go! Yeah, maybe we better help him up, huh? Come on.
All right.
Oh, my back.
Folks around here know enough to jump when they get the word from Slugger Hawkins, stranger. Help him up, Chunky.
Right.
I don't need your help.
Where's your horse?
Palomino there at the hitch rack.
Trigger, go untie that Palomino and head him out of town.
Sure thing, Slugger.
Wait a minute, don't do that.
Steady, boy. Get up there.
Mister, you better get going after your horse. And I want you to go running, you savvy?
If I had a
But
gun...
you haven't. You likely couldn't use one if you had. Now get moving. And Chunky, Trigger.
Yeah?
Help me kick up the dust around his heels with a few bullets.
Sure. With pleasure.
That was quite an experience, Drew. You're lucky Slugger Hawkins didn't shoot you in the back as you ran from town. He has a very bad reputation.
That's right.
Why don't you carry a gun?
Frankly, I gave up carrying firearms.
In the West, it's necessary for self-protection.
I have good reasons for not carrying one.
Such as...
For one thing, I would have killed Slugger Hawkins.
No need to go that far. But having a gun might have kept you from being mistreated today. A man like Slugger Hawkins respect a gun, and a quick draw would have...
Would have resulted in his death.
I don't understand.
No, I don't think you do, but no matter.
Well, at least you have your horse back. Now, where will you go?
I haven't decided yet, mister.
We're going to camp near here. If you care to join us, I'd like to talk to you some more.
I could do with some advice, mister. Maybe you're the man who can give it to me. I'd like to go with you and the Indian.
Good, let's go.
Oh, all right.
Easy, said to be
Easy,
close.
fella.
Come on, son.
Get him up, Swell.
After the three men had pitched camp in a nearby grove, Drew said very little. But later, when they sat near the campfire having coffee, he seemed to have gained enough confidence in his newly found friends to begin a conversation.
I suppose you wonder about me being out here in the West and not carrying a gun?
Yes, I have wondered, Drew.
Yeah. In the first place, Dad was an expert with a gun. From the time I could hold one, he taught me all he could about firearms, which was considerable.
Go on.
We listen.
Dad was younger. He came west. Became a frontier sheriff out here.
Well, that's interesting.
He went back east to visit and met Mom. After they married, she persuaded him to stay there. You see, Dad could outdraw and outshoot most anybody. But he had the habit of drawing and firing almost at the same time. He never gave anyone a chance.
I'm beginning to understand now.
Dad became sheriff in St. Louis. Once, he went after outlaws with a posse. His brother-in-law rode with him. Posse separated to widen the search.
What happened?
Brother-in-law and a few others took a branch trail. Later, they found the outlaws' tracks. Dad's brother-in-law left the others, took a shortcut down a slope to find him. As he rode from behind some boulders ahead to intercept Dad, well, Dad fired before he realized who it was.
Not bad.
I know. He killed his own brother-in-law because of his bad habit.
That was a tragedy.
Yeah. Dad almost went crazy thinking about it. Mom died soon after, and then one morning, Dad went away.
For good?
Yes, he left a note saying he was heading west. He went on to write that since he'd never draw first again against anyone, he'd likely die with his boots on. He said because he taught me to handle a gun, I'd learned the same bad habit he had. He begged me in the note never to carry a gun and to go farther east to relatives in New England where I'd have no need for a gun.
Now we know why you not have gun.
Haven't carried a gun since Dad left. But I couldn't stand staying with Mom's relatives, so I came west to find Dad.
Did you have any particular reason for coming to Rock City, Drew?
Dad used to mention Rock City. I thought perhaps he settled in this vicinity.
Since Slugger Hawkins and his partners moved into Rock City, there's been trouble. Everybody there is said to fear him. Hal and I came down here hoping we could do something about the situation.
That right? Slugger, plenty mean feller. Him steal, kill.
Well, I can't match Hawkins physically. He's much bigger and stronger than I, but I'm not afraid of him.
I've decided you have courage, Drew. I'm very glad we met you.
That right?
Drew, the people of Rock City need help. They're all under the thumb of Hawkins and his men. 2 weeks ago, the sheriff conveniently met with a so-called accident. Since then, there's been no law in Rock City.
I noticed everyone seemed to give in to Hawkins. There ought to be some way to relieve the situation.
Would you be willing to help?
Yes.
Good. I have a plan in mind, Drew. I think we'll be able to prove to the people of Rock City that Slugger Hawkins isn't as tough as he seems, that he's really a coward.
Meantime, in his hotel room, Slugger Hawkins was talking to his two friends.
Well, boys, I got everybody in this town eating right out of my hand.
You sure have, Slugger. You practically own the town.
And speaking of owning the town, I've been thinking of something.
What?
Now, listen, both of you.
Yeah?
If I was to get myself legally elected as mayor of Rock City, I could appoint Chunky as sheriff and you, Trigger, as deputy.
Yeah.
Then we could really take this town for everything it's worth.
Man alive, that is an idea, boss. You think you can get by with it, Slugger?
Sure. Now, you boys pass the word around town that there'll be a meeting of all the men of Rock City in the meeting house to nominate and elect someone for mayor. We'll hold the meeting tomorrow afternoon at 2 o'clock.
We'll start telling everybody right away. Yeah. But tell us, Slugger, how you gonna work it?
Yeah. Well, at the meeting, Chunky'll nominate me.
Uh-huh.
You, Trigger, get up quick and second it, and suggest that nominations be closed. And nobody'll dare nominate anyone else. After that, I'll call for a standing vote.
That ought to bring every man to his feet. Yeah. No one would have the nerve to stay seated. You could bring the gang in to back us up if necessary.
That's the way I figure it. After the vote, I'll be mayor. And I'll tax every businessman in town. Sort of a payoff for the privilege to stay in business.
Yeah.
Then, as sheriff and deputy, you two will be sure they pay and that nobody interferes.
Doggone it, you sure have it figured out.
You gotta be smart, Chunky, to get along. Now, you and Trigger go around town and pass a word about the meeting.
Sure.
Tell them we expect everybody to be there, without fail.
The curtain falls on the first act of our Lone Ranger adventure. Before the next exciting scenes, please permit us to pause for just a few moments. Now to continue. At their camp, the Lone Ranger and Tonto had given Drew Westcott a gun and watched with interest as he demonstrated his marksmanship. They were both greatly impressed.
That's good shooting, Drew.
Thanks. Like Dad, I automatically squeeze the trigger when I draw. I just can't seem to control it.
I noticed that, Drew. And you hit the target without taking time to aim.
Him fine shot. Plenty fast on draw.
But as Drew said, he needs control. If you're willing, Drew, I'll spend time with you and try to teach you how to gain control.
I wish you would, sir.
For the rest of that afternoon and during the early part of the following morning, the Lone Ranger and Tonto worked with Drew as he patiently tried to learn control in squeezing the trigger. While the Lone Ranger continued working with Drew, Tonto rode to the blacksmith shop at the edge of town to have a loose shoe on Scout fixed.
Oh, Scout, old fella. Easy.
The Indian waited while the blacksmith worked on the horse of a middle-aged stranger. Tonto listened with interest to their conversation.
You're new around here, aren't you, mister?
Well, not exactly, though I haven't been here for some years. Looks like Rock City's grown a lot since then.
Yeah, it sure isn't getting any better as a place to live or do business. Fact is, it's getting worse fast. Yeah. Reckon this shoe fit all right now. Steady there, easy now. Be through here in a minute, ain't you?
You wait.
You know, I'm curious about what you just said. Why do you say Rock City is getting worse fast?
Mister, wonder if you've heard of an hombre named Slugger Hawkins.
Nope. Why?
He runs Rock City now. In fact, he's called a meeting at 2 o'clock to get himself elected mayor. After that, anything can happen.
All the town's going to have to do is to run someone against him.
Huh? Nobody in town has the nerve, including me. He's got everybody under his thumb and scared to make a move.
Yep. Well, I was aiming to stay here a day or two anyway. I'll stick around and see what goes on.
Well, that's it, mister. $1.
Yep, thanks. And here's the money.
Right. If you were a Slugger, one of his pals, I wouldn't collect.
There are a few hours before that meeting. Maybe I could talk some of the townsmen into running someone else against Hawkins.
You'll sure be courting trouble if you do much talking, but I'll be waiting to see how you make out. All right, Injun, bring your horse over here.
Come, Scout.
I'll be seeing you, mister. So long.
So long.
Get up there.
Injun, that stranger's heading for trouble for sure. Slugger Hawkins won't like anybody interfering. As soon as he hears about it, that stranger might end up with a bullet in his back.
That's right.
Shortly after, Tonto left the blacksmith shop and rode through the main street of Rock City. He noticed the stranger's horse in front of the cafe.
Oh, Scout, old fella. Easy, Scout.
So he dismounted and went inside. He heard the newcomer talking to a group of men.
And you men ought to have courage enough to run a man of your own choice for mayor. If you don't like the hombre you think is going to be nominated...
You don't know Slugger Hawkins, stranger. We don't dare run anyone else.
How come you let one hombre scare all of you into letting him take over Rock City?
Well, he's a killer, and he's got tough friends, too.
Get tough yourselves. Then you might get good results at that meeting. Let's think it over. I have to get a room at the hotel. But I'll see you all later.
Tonto left the cafe behind the stranger and rode back to camp. He told the Lone Ranger and Drew about Slugger's plans and about the stranger who was trying to get the townsmen to oppose him. Shortly after noontime, Chunky went to the hotel and entered the room where Slugger and Trigger were playing cards.
Hey, I heard a stranger at the cafe shooting off his mouth a while ago. He told the men there they were fools to be scared of you. Said they ought to run someone against you.
What? Where's that stranger now?
Right here in the hotel, down in room 203.
That makes it easy. We'll get to him and shut him up pronto.
Now, wait, I found out something else, something important.
Yeah? What?
I saw an Indian around town, dressed in buckskins and riding a fine paint.
What about it?
Remember the masked man who rode with an Indian over near Pecos? The hombres who helped the law grab the Norton gang?
You mean that's the Indian you saw?
Yeah.
Holy mackerel, Slugger. That means the masked man must be around here, too.
Come on. We get to that loudmouth stranger first. Then we'll pick up the trail of that redskin.
Why? We don't want to get mixed up with those two hombres.
We got a couple of hours for the meeting. Maybe we can catch the masked man and Indian off guard and settle with them. Then we'll get back here in time to go through with our plans. We don't get to them first, they'll move in on us and spoil everything. Now let's go.
A few minutes later, Slugger and his two gunmen knocked on the door of the stranger's room.
Have your gun ready?
Sure, right.
Bloody. What can I do for you?
Reach, mister. We're here for a visit. Step aside.
Well, I reckon you're Slugger Hawkins. I've heard about you. You kind of took me off guard just now.
If you were smart, stranger, you'd have expected this visit.
Yes, I reckon I should have.
Take his gun, boys, and tie and gag him.
All right.
We leave him here till after the meeting. And after that, the new sheriff will arrest him on a fake charge and then let him escape. Of course, he won't go far without getting a bullet. Now get busy.
Let's go.
Later, Slugger and his gunmen rode along the trail Tonto had taken from town, following the Indians' hoof marks. At the camp, the Lone Ranger was discussing the situation with Tonto and Drew Westcott.
The stranger you heard in the cafe, Tonto, may at least start the townsmen thinking.
He'll be in plenty of trouble when Slugger Hawkins hears what he's been doing.
We'll all ride to the grove on the edge of town. Tonto will go into Rock City and check on things. Later, when the townsmen are gathered in the meeting house, we'll follow through with the plan I have in mind.
You must hurry. Horses give warning. Then look cross gully behind us.
Quick, move in among the trees.
The three men ran in crouching position to the safety of the trees just as a shot rang out.
That shot came behind the large boulder beyond the gully. As we move closer, keep behind the trees.
Right.
Now.
One man get hit.
They're leaving.
Three of them. I'd like to have had a closer look at them.
And ride in direction of town.
We'll pick up their trail. We're going to town anyway. Come on, we'll discuss my plan of what we'll do at the meeting while we ride.
At 2 o'clock, the townsmen gathered at the meeting house in town, according to the instructions given out by Slugger's two gunmen. Slugger Hawkins stood on the low platform before them.
Quiet, everybody. Quiet! Now, all of you know why we're here. It's about time we elected a mayor for Rock City. We'll have nominations from the floor. No need to give out ballots. We'll take a stand and vote. Now we'll get down to business. Let's have the nominations.
I nominate Slugger Hawkins.
I second that. Move that the nominations be closed. Watch him.
Just come in.
Who said that?
I said it, Hawkins.
You! Thought we ran you out of town. Chunky Trigger, throw this fool Easterner out and cool his heels with a few bullets.
Stay away from me. You too, Hawkins.
Oh, carrying a gun this time, huh? Draw your guns, men. Make sure this ordinary...
Better look at the two windows behind you before any of you draw.
Hey, Slugger, the masked man's at one window, the Indian at the other.
They're covering us with guns, Slugger.
Well, I'll settle with this young fool for bringing them.
Hold it! No, I'm hit!
As Slugger dropped his gun and clutched his wounded wrist, the Lone Ranger called through one of the windows.
We have you all covered.
Hey,
Slugger, I noticed one of your men has an arm in a sling. You must have been the three men who tried to ambush us a while ago at our camp.
We better gun the masked man and the Indian.
Oh, wait. They're against Slugger.
the masked man's wise, Trigger. Let's get away from here.
Use your gun, Chunky.
Right, I'll gun that young fool first.
Drop that gun!
After wounding Chunky, the Lone Ranger followed Tonto through the windows, still keeping the crooks covered.
I'll throw down my gun, mister. I'm already wounded.
Tonto, watch these three. Keep them covered while the election continues.
Me wants him.
Men, if you want to continue with this meeting and take this method of electing a mayor, go ahead. But Slugger Hawkins is out of the running.
That young fella's the only one who got up nerve enough to face Hawkins. He's got plenty of spunk.
Yeah, he sure handles the gun. Let's elect him mayor. What's his name?
His name is Drew Westcott.
I nominate Drew Westcott for mayor.
I second the nomination. Let's make it unanimous.
Oh, wait. Hold on. Let me talk. Slugger Hawkins and his men tried and gagged me in my hotel room. Hey, what goes on? That masked man...
Dad!
Drew, my boy.
Oh, Dad, it's good to see
Oh,
you.
son. Say, are you the hombre who faced Hawkins?
Oh, with the backing of my two friends here, the masked man and the Indian. They taught me how to control my firing, Dad. Now I carry a gun.
Hey, son, that's wonderful.
Well, Drew, you've been elected mayor of Rock City. Congratulations.
Gosh. Well, in that case, I appoint my dad as sheriff.
Wait a minute.
He's the stranger who talked against Hawkins.
Yeah, he'll be a good sheriff.
Yes, sir.
Well, see, the first thing I'll do as sheriff is to put Hawkins and his gunslicks in jail for attempted murder. They planned to kill me.
You said they tied and gagged you.
Well, I made a big racket by kicking my feet against the door, and the hotel clerk finally came up and untied me.
I see. Men, I'll do my best as mayor, and I know Dad will make a fine sheriff. He'll see that law and order is kept here in Rock City.
Now, son, I'd like to meet the two friends you spoke about, the masked man and Indian. Hey, well, they were here a minute ago.
They got other men to guard Hawkins and his pals, and they slipped out during the excitement. But you'll meet him sometime soon, Dad.
Well, tell me who the masked man is, son.
Dad, he's about the finest man I ever met, and the best friend a fella could hope for. He's the Lone Ranger.
This is a feature of the Lone Ranger Incorporated, created by George W. Trendle, produced by Trendle Campbell Muir Incorporated, directed by Charles D. Livingston, and edited by Fran Stryker. The part of the Lone Ranger is played by Brace Beamer.